It's happening.
It's happening?
1 minute to the show.
Oh, okay. 1 minute until the show. So, yes, I got to get a hold of John Lake for the interview and do that between the last couple of weeks in July. And as far as stuff from Australia, yeah, I'd like to go live from Australia. It would be. I won't. Maybe live isn't right. I don't know about the time difference, but I would like to bring some of our viewers some coverage from that. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be.
So.
Okay.
All right. And we've got a good race day coverage tonight too.
From where?
Oh, you'll see.
Oh.
Bezwan was on the scene again. Remember Bezwan, our new announcer?
Oh.
Yeah.
You're live.
You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Let's get down to the starting line, and I'll tell you about what you're going to see on tonight's show. And the next time, try this segment. We've got a great video that was sent to us by Steve Ellis. If you've got a problem with your brake plate, this is going to help you out. Moto Showcase, Bultaco 125, coming up, another beautiful bike. And here's the problem segment. We've got some questions that were sent in over the past couple of weeks. We're going to address those. What's it worth? A Rickman Montesa from Connecticut. Video on that one, too. Race day live. We've got coverage coming from Lewiston, Idaho, and our man Bezwan was on the scene. We're giving away Can-Am tickets tonight. There's going to be some winners for some raffle bikes coming up later in August. We've got that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I am your host, Joe Abadi. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie for helping me put the show together. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. We will have some prizes to give away tonight. We'll give away a sticker sheet like this, compliments of vintco.com. And you know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what else. I'm in a very generous mood tonight. I've got some of these 2023 Supercross yearbook magazine. They look just like this. I got a couple of them. So you know what? We're going to pick a couple of random share giveaway winners for those two. So we're going to give away stickers. We're going to give away some of those Supercross yearbooks. And keep sharing the show. We're going to be giving away tickets like this. This is for the Can-Am 50th reunion. 3 bikes that are restored, all Can-Am vintage bikes, will be given away. I will be the MC there in August. I will be there. I won't be picking the ticket, but I think Gary Jones and Gary Semix and a couple of other guys will. So keep sharing the show. We're giving away yearbooks from Supercross. We're giving away stickers. We're giving away 50th anniversary raffle tickets for the Can-Am reunion. Don't forget, our YouTube channel is going really, really well. I would appreciate if you would subscribe to it. Tell your friends about it. All the interviews, all the shows we've ever done for Vintage Motocross Q&A are available. And when you're a member, you'll get a little alert just like this. Tells you when we're live on YouTube. A great way to watch the show? From your big screen TV, of course. You've heard me say it before. Comment from your phone, watch it on your big screen TV. It's a great way to enjoy Vintage Motocross Q&A. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, Vintco, Racer X Magazine, Motion Pro, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, the International Motocross Museum, and ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. Wait till I tell you more about what Paul Parkinson has done this week. The man's getting parts made. It's unbelievable. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on in the show. Right now, let's move on to I think we're in the next time try this segment out of the bag, aren't we, Jordan?
In this case, the 73 Elsinore had a very, very worn out brake cam. You can see the bushing is completely gone. Actually, there's no bushing in it. That's what we're going to do. The tools and procedure to repair this worn out brake shaft hole are as follows. A 5/8 inch drill, but honestly, I do recommend a 39/64 drill bit. Harder to find, but if you have to buy a drill, buy that one. The other is a Granger 19/32 to 21/32 adjustable reamer that gets you in the range you need. And this is the trick. These are McMaster Carr high load dry sleeve bearings, 14 millimeter ID, 16 OD, 15 millimeter long. The hole is just over 30 millimeters, so put one in on each side, then you have a little gap between them for lube. The part number is 6679K38, and they are PTFE lined. PTFE stands for polytetrafluoroethylene, commonly known as Teflon. So with these, you will then take the hole and drill the hole to proper size, ream it, and then press these sleeve bearings in from each side and reassemble with a little bit of lube. Even though they're dry load, I found lube works better. That's it, and it will take up all the slop in that shaft for the future. Good luck.
That's right. That segment is, of course, brought to you by Vinco. Keep the ride going with over 1,000 products in their catalog. Moto Showcase is coming up next. We got a really nice bike this week sent in to us by Robert Flosco. Robert Flosco, 1973 Bultaco 125. And I'm not going to forget the mug this week. I think I forgot the mug a couple of times. Anyway, here's what Robert has written to us. Here are the pics of my bike if you'd like to use them on the show. The Bultaco Persang MK6 125 matching number bike was purchased new here in California from a dealer in 1973 and was a one-owner bike until I purchased it just a few months ago. The original owner said he had ridden it only a couple of times on the track, then joined the military, and it sat around for 30 years. Then he got it running again to ride at Hollister, but only went out once. 10 years later, his nephew did a cosmetic restoration on it. Then it sat under a tarp in his garage until I purchased the bike and cleaned it up and brought it back to life once again. I put a new top end in it, a standard piston, even after 50 years, and it runs like a dream. The bike is for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and the price is negotiable. Thank you very much, Joe, for all you do for us, the vintage motocross community. Regards, Robert Flosco. Robert contacted me today because he knew this bike was going to be on the show tonight, and the bike is sold. The bike is sold. But Robert Flosco, I've got a mug like this, compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A, that I'd be happy to send you for sending your bike into us here. And it is a beautiful little Bultaco. Thanks for sending that in. Susie, I'm sorry. Did somebody have a question?
Luck.
Eric Luck?
Yeah, he wanted to know if Full Circle does complete wheel package for the 85 Hondas.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, if you send him the hubs.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah, Eric Luck, I believe. You got to get a hold of Tom McAllister. And yeah, he'll build you a complete wheel. Spokes, nipples, rims, everything. You got to send him your hubs. What do we have next here, Jordan? Preston Petty. Paul Stannard drove all the way across the country for Hodaka days. But right now, he's still selling Preston Petty fenders. This week's special is the front motor, $59.95. I'm showing it here in yellow, but it comes in blue, yellow, black, white, translucent. It comes in a variety of colors. Thank you, Paul Stannard, for all you do for us here at the show. Here's the problem. Ooh, let's talk about that. Gerald Langston from Langston Motorsports down there in beautiful Paris, California. Do the wings on a 1973-74 Honda CR250 Elsinore tank go over the clear or under the clear? Gerald, I am glad you asked. First picture shows you what an original one, well, this is the tank, an original tank from the side. Now, if you look closely, you'll see the yellow in the wing, then there's the black outline. Look closely at the picture, you'll see a clear edge along that sticker. From the factory, the stickers are over the clear because they have a clear laminate over the sticker originally. Those are next to impossible to find. I don't believe anybody reproduces them. So what I would recommend, Gerald, is that you place those stickers on your tank before you clear it. You could do it the other way, as it was originally. But as time goes on, if you go to wax that tank or any kind of cleaner or something, You may have a problem with removing the ink from the sticker. You're going to have to replace it again. That could also turn into you wanting to peel the sticker off. The clear is going to be on there. It could lead to you maybe pulling the clear off as well. That's my recommendation. So if you have the original stickers with that clear laminate over it, or you can have some of those made, put them on over the clear. That's they were originally. If not, put the stickers on first, then clear over it. Steve Cross, is there a shelf life for two-stroke oils after opening them? Years ago, I experimented with different brands, and I have some left over. If they're in a cool, dry place, or even in your garage, whatever, no. There is no shelf life on an opened bottle of oil. If it's closed, definitely not. It's infinitely good if it's never really been opened. If it was open, I mean, I'd give it like a couple of years, 3 years. But from what I've read and from what I've heard, there really is no problem with that. Something to consider though, if it's more than maybe 2 or 3 years old. Just a few things to consider. Number one, is it worth risking that oil to have to wind up maybe replacing the top end or bottom end on your bike? Heaven forbid. Maybe you should get rid of the oil. Number two, oils have made huge leaps and bounds in improvement. Look at what AMSOIL has done, and they've been in the business since 1973, the first in synthetic. Look what they've done over the years. It keeps growing, and the products keep getting better. So is there a shelf life on used? No, you can use it after 2 or 3 years, even if it's opened up. If it's sealed, you could probably use it forever. But weigh out the pros and the cons of that. Dave Walcott, is it critical to gap spark plugs? Do some plugs come pre-gapped? Interesting question. And you know what? So many people don't even think about gapping spark plugs anymore, but it does make a difference, and I'm going to tell you where. Number one, if you're going to gap your plug, use the proper tool like you see here on the right-hand side of the screen. The gap in that plug, the tighter it is, the smaller the spark. The bigger it is, you're going to have a bigger spark. But if it's too big, it's not going to, the arc is not going to be complete. Now, here is where this is really, really critical. With old point type ignition systems, you really, really should make sure your plugs are gapped correctly. The whole point is they don't give off a really great charge to begin with. So unless the plug is gapped perfectly to what it's supposed to be, your bike is not going to perform as well. I think in the next picture Jordan has from me, yeah. See, this is an old point system, and it needs to be accurate as far as a gap in the points go. It needs to be accurate in a gap in the plug as well, because you don't get a real good charge to the plug, a real good spark to the plug out of old systems like this. And I've known guys that have run BSAs, Triumphs, and other bikes too that have a point system, and they're doing it. They're checking the gap between races, not only on the plug, but on the points too, between motos. Now, if you have a much newer, like a vape ignition or what are the other ones? They're not new, but Moto Plat, something like that, or something like this here. Then you can go with a much bigger gap. You're going to get a bigger spark, and you could be ensured that it's going to spark every time because you have an upgraded system like this. So points, condensers, things like that, carefully gap the plug. You can run it without gapping it on a more modern system like this, like a vape or a Moto Plat or something like that. But even then, you should check them. But the good thing is you can run even a little bit of a bigger gap when you're running a modern ignition. Bigger gap going to give you a brighter, bigger spark.
Eric Luck wants to know if there's a difference in spark. Eric Luck again.
Eric Luck's got a lot of questions tonight. The guy's got my phone number. What is he interrupting my? What's his question?
He wants to know if there's a difference in spark with the BRP versus the BREV.
Well, I don't know what those heat ranges are, but yes, there would be a difference, and I don't know which one's a hotter plug, which one's a colder plug. That's a conversation for another day, Eric Luck. But right now, don't forget that Motion Pro has a special going on. Still going great, too. 20% off everything across the board except custom cables. This month's code is MP9135. That's MP, as in Motion Pro 9135.
I'm Doug Grant. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Joe Abadi for Vintage Motocross Q&A. One of my favorite tools from Motion Pro is their T-handle wrench with the special JIS tips on it. What I really like about it is there's a little opening on each end. You can put your tip in there. It's magnetic. You don't have to worry about losing it. This is a great item to have, especially for you vintage guys, where you've got your screws, with JIS screws in the cases. They're very, very hard to get out. Nothing gives you more torque and better grip than a T-handle wrench. Get over to motionpro.com or see your local dealer. Don't forget, go to Vintage Motocross Q&A for a 20% discount on all Motion Pro tools.
That's the name that's on here.
And What's It Worth segment tonight is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. What is it worth? Got a nice little video that goes along with this. We've got a 1973 Rickman Montesa 250 that recently sold on Bring a Trailer in Connecticut, and I've got a nice little video that goes along with it. Jordan, let's roll the tape. All right. So, Jordan, are we going back to any pictures? Maybe not. Okay, here we go. 1973 Rickman 250 motocross underwent a refurbishment prior to the acquisition by the seller in September 2020. This is, of course, the segment of the show where I encourage you, the viewers at home, to put in what you think this bike actually sold for, and I will come up with an absolutely amazing price for you. Okay, great. The bike has been refinished in red over a nickel-plated manganese molybdenum steel frame. It's powered by a 250 Montesa engine. It is a two-stroke. Features also include fiberglass bodywork, a black solo seat, chrome braced handlebar, Beta forks, Girling shocks, chrome Dunlop rims. It's got an ammo carb. It's got work performed under the current ownership, including a rejetted carburetor for high-altitude operation, fitting a lightweight rear sprocket. It's got fresh oil in it. Photos depicting the frame show some corrosion under the bottom. The chrome Dunlop steel rims are 21 and 18 inch. They have Kenda knobby tires on it. The suspension has some Beta forks. There are also other shocks that go along with the bike. Montesa Source 248 piston port single was rated at just 32 horsepower. This bike does not have a title or a registration. It is being sold on a bill of sale only. There it is. It was running. It was refreshed pretty well. How much do you think this bike sold for in Connecticut on Bring a Trailer? $2,000. $4,000, $6,000. Jordan, how much did it sell for? $4,150. $4,150. There it is, 1973 Rickman Montesa that was sold on Bring a Trailer.
Robert Flasco,
Robert Flasco was closest without going over.
4100.
4,100. You know, Flasco, you won a couple already for sending in the Bull Taco tonight on the 125 for the Moto Showcase.
That's all he's getting.
So, you're only getting a mug, and that's it. I don't care how many things you get right. No, I'll give you something, a little something else in there. I'll do that. Make sure you get me your address, Robert. Full Circle Racing. Still got a great special going on. The black wheel set, 18 or 19 inch, 21 for the front. 18 or 19 for the back, 20 for the front. $775. Tom McAllister will give you stainless steel spokes, silver or black or gold nipples, powder coat, your hubs, and brake plates. Assemble everything for just $775 plus shipping and handling. I don't know if he still has gold left, but he had gold going for a while there in the 19 and 21 inch. Get a hold of Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. And if you need a braking plate for your CZ, he's got them, $179 if you want the logo in there. If you don't want the logo, $169. Thank you, Tom McAllister. Did you know this segment is brought to you by Jeff Kokoski? So get yourself a nice cup of tea, get yourself a caftan, throw it over your legs, sit back in your chair, and get ready for what we know now as the real reason why it is called Hangtown. Anyway, this past June, the Hangtown National was, of course, at Prairie City. That's the off-road park in Rancho Cordova, Sacramento, California. The race first started in 1974, and Hangtown is now the longest-running event on the national circuit. It was always the first race of the year, but due to COVID a couple of years ago, it got pushed to the back, and that changed again this year. It came back as the first race again, but it wasn't until June. Anyway, it was a great time. Now, here's what happened. In 1969, the Dirt Diggers North Motorcycle Club held its first race at Murray's Chicken Ranch outside Placerville, California, about 20 miles east of Prairie City, where the race site is now. The race took place from the name, I'm sorry, the race took its name from the California Gold Rush days, which were in Placerville, known as Hangtown. That race was first ended, the first race, by Gary Bailey and Dick Mann. They were the winners. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1948, a few miles north of present-day Placerville, James Marshall discovered flecks of gold in a tail race of a saw, from a lumber mill. Okay, when the news spread about that gold, California, the gold rush began. Thousands of miners descended on the area, hoping to seek fame and fortune. But not all the newcomers that gathered there were there to look for gold. Some of them were backbreaking laborers, and many of them worked in the mines. But there were also murderers, and robberies became frequent in the isolated area along the American River. In 1849, after one of the such murders and robbery took place, a local miner had enough and decided it was time to take matters into his own hands. 3 men, although some say there may have been 5, were accused of conspiring to murder, and they were seized. Shortly after that, they were hung right in the middle of what was Placerville. Shortly after that, it became known as Hangtown. By 1854, Hangtown was the 3rd largest city in California. It surpassed Sacramento and San Francisco. So if you walk down Main Street in Placerville, you will see a mannequin hanging from a noose outside the town's most iconic building, the Hangman's Tree. But I think since then, that has also been taken down due to people not finding it quite politically correct. Let's just keep erasing history as we go on. Anyway, as I retain the vomit in my throat, let's not forget why it was called Hangtown. And that was it. The name stuck. It's still called Hangtown. Thank you, Jeff Kokoski, for sending in a lengthy but very, very informative write-up on why it was called Hangtown.
I'm sure they'll be changing the name of that too.
Yeah, they'll be changing.
Before long.
What else? Oh, race day. Let me tell you something. Our guy, Bezwan, our new announcer, who's out in the field, Bezwan was out there for the Lewiston, Idaho race. Let's hear what he's got to say. Bezwan, take it away.
A few weekends ago, I set foot for the first time in Lewiston, Idaho, at the ECMX VMX race. It was a scorcher, but that didn't discourage the number of fine blokes and lassies who showed up with some mighty fine vintage machines. And there was the exception of some futuristic-looking bikes as well. Friend of the show, Fritz the Cat Gunther, never likes to see a bike in peril, as you can see here. There were many brands racing around the track, some of which, not naming any names, got stuck on the big hill. For unknown reasons, ECMX doesn't allow food vendors, but there were some hot dogs. Jim Mercer was there on his good-looking Micos. He's fast and has a great tan, which you can see here he was tending to. Other less experienced cornstalkers seem to be working on their sunburns. That is all from Lewiston. Hope to see you next year. Bezwan signing off.
There you go. Bezwan. Have you ever heard of a Bianchi motorcycle? Very, very interesting story here. Bianchi was a brand of Italian motorcycle made from 1897 to 1967 by Edoardo Bianchi. The company also produced automobiles from 1900 to 1939. And today it was a major bicycle. It was also a major bicycle manufacturer at that time. Bianchi himself started manufacturing small bikes in 1885, and it was a prominent name in motorcycle racing from 1925 to 1930. Bianchi was an Italian motorcycling pioneer who began building bikes, as I said, in 1885. He built motorized bicycles in 1897. He built the cars after that. In 1903, he fitted an engine to a gusseted and built up, re-strengthened bicycle frame. In 1910, Bianchi built a 500cc single engine that was successful, and that established the Bianchi name in motorcycle racing. In 1916, he made a V-twin. He also made a 750 engine in 1920. In 1925, a 348cc overhead valve engine was introduced. There was also a 350 dual overhead, and that was designed by Albino Baldi. Baldi was a very, very famous designer of engines back at that time. Bianchi's chief engineer, and they were very, very successful in Italian racing for over 5 years. During that time, the bike was ridden by such riders, and you might, for you vintage or for you historians who know about road racing, Tazio Novellari was a very, very popular name at that time. Anyway, after World War II, Bianchi produced a 123cc bike, a 248cc bike, and some single-cylinder racers in the late 1950s. In 1946, Eduardo unfortunately died, and control of the firm went to his son, Giuseppe. Some 49cc two-stroke engines were built and licensed to Puch. They were fitted to the innovative Falco, one of the two-seated mopeds that came out about that time. In 61, Bob McIntyre rode a Bianchi 350 into the Motorcycle Grand Prix World Championship. Motorcycle production ceased in 1967. Rights passed on to Innocente and Bianchi were imported to American retailer Montgomery Ward, and they were sold via a catalog under the name Riverside brand, a name we've often seen from Montgomery Ward. Now you have heard of the Bianchi. Hey, Jordan. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. And I know when we get back from that, we're going to have the announcement of who is the random share sticker giveaway and the Can-Am ticket too. We'll be right back.
Vinco, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with Vinco rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The Vinco air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit Vinco.com to check out the air shocks and all that Vinco has to offer to help you get back on track and to keep that ride going.
And we are back at Vintage Motocross Q&A, and as promised, I am going to give you the winners of tonight's random share giveaway. Jonathan Deemer, you have won this sticker sheet, compliments of Vinco.com. That's for John Deemer. Jeff Camp, or is it Camp Jeff? I mean,
It's Camp Jeff.
yeah, it looks like it says Camp Jeff on the screen, but whether it's Camp Jeff or Jeff Camp, I don't know. I have a really nice yearbook for you of the 2023 Monster Energy Supercross season, okay? And Richard Lotz, you are the winner of one of these tickets. I will get it for you. Actually, you get me your address, and I will have John Lake, who's in charge of the Can-Am 50th anniversary. I will have him mail you the stub for the ticket. Richard Lotz, you got the ticket. Jeff Camp, you got the yearbook. And John Deemer, you got the stickers. And John Deemer, if you want a yearbook too, I'll give you one of those. Let me know. What do we got next, Jordan? This week in motocross history, brought to you by Racer X. Here I am, holding it up once again, the finest motocross publication on your newsstand now. Get a hold of Racer X. See our ad in the back of every issue. Get one for your mom if she loves motocross. 1976, Marty and Gaston in Belgium. Kind of made me a little sad when I looked at this yesterday, looking it up for the show, because they're both sadly gone. The diminutive Belgian Suzuki rider Gaston Rayher continued his domination of the FIM 125cc World Motocross Championship, winning his 5th GP in 6 rounds to date. This time in Finland. It was an important win for Rayher because the interloper from America, Team Honda's Marty Smith, had won the previous round in Denmark and appeared to be building momentum. But Smith the two-time AMA 125cc national champion, couldn't top Ray Ear that day. The reigning 125 champ Ray Ear went on for the win. Also in 1976, the man, Roger. It was a close season in Germany. Defending FIM 500cc motocross world champion Roger DeCoster dominated the day, going 1-1 to extend his series points lead over Suzuki teammate Garrett Walsink. It was Roger's fourth win in 5 rounds, but bad luck was coming his way in the next 2 rounds in the U.S. and Canada. When the smoke would clear from the 1976 500cc World Motocross Championship, DeCoster would still hold just 2 points on Walsink. Roger never did well at Carlsbad. In fact, we have him saying somewhere, we had it as trivia one day. Who was it who said, "I am doomed here"? Who was it who said, "I am doomed here"? It was Roger at Carlsbad. And we know what Walsink did at Carlsbad. But I digress. 1982. What do we have, Jordan? My man. It's my buddy. Whole shot. Donnie Hansen. On a big and dramatic day in Colorado at the CDR Tech Track, the final round of the AMA 250cc National Championship played out. Team Yamaha's Rick Two-Hip Johnson, a 17-year-old sensation, seemed to have the title in the bag, but he overjumped on a big downhill ski jump and collapsed the front wheel on his production-based Yamaha YZ250. The title would go to Team Honda's Donnie Holeshot Hansen, who finished second on the day to Johnson's Yamaha teammate Brock Glover. It was the one and only AMA motocross title for Hansen, but he did go on to win the 82 AMA Supercross Championship as well. And if you go back into 1981, he was, of course, a member of that amazing motocross and trophy the nation's team as well. As for Johnson, Johnson went on to win 7 major AMA championships on his own, and he's, of course, in the AMA Hall of Fame and the Motorsports Hall of Fame, too. I love that commercial from Terry Good and the International Motocross Museum. And you know what? I'll get into the announcements and I'll tell you a little bit more about Terry Good and what is coming up. What's the first announcement we have? Jordan. Oh, yeah. I am going to Australia. Classic Dirt 16 happens August 4th through 6th at the Three Pines MX Park in New South Wales, Australia. If you are down there, come on. We'll throw a shrimp on the barbie and have a Foster's, which I heard is actually horrible beer. I will be there. Compliments of Vintage Motocross, VMX magazine, and Harry and Rhonda Mason are sponsored mine and Susie's trip to go down there. I will also be doing a workshop on repairing Elsinore tanks. Yeah, they are putting me to work there down under. I will be there, and what I'm going to try and do is go live from there. But I don't know what the time difference is, and if I don't know, but I'm definitely going to get some video of what is happening there at Classic Dirt 16. And if I can go live, I will throughout some of the event. Looking forward to it. Can-Am 50th reunion is coming up. That happens August 17th, 18th, and 19th. I hope you've made plans already because it's almost July. We're giving away tickets. There's going to be a raffle for 3 bikes. Gary Semix is going to be there. Gary Jones and everybody who had something to do with Can-Am over the past 50 years. There's going to be workshops. There's going to be all sorts of things going on. I understand there's movies. There's going to be racing, a cross-country event, vintage motocross. It's going to be a great time, and I'm really looking forward to be there in Canada as well. In fact, I go to Australia. I'm only home for a couple of days. Then I'm off to Canada, which puts me at something I wanted to tell you about these announcements when I saw the International Motocross Museum announcement. I am going to be recording some interviews. I'll be recording some interviews, so you'll have a new and exciting show every week while I'm gone throughout the month of August. One of them will be Terry Good. We're going to be talking about the International Motocross Museum and some really, really big news that is coming up. You've been over there on that page. You'll see that there was an announcement made about a building. We're going to find out even a little bit more because there's a meeting coming up, and we'll talk more about that with Terry Good in the coming weeks, and you'll be able to see it probably sometime in early August. Also, Scott Hybrink, editor of BMX and Minicycle magazine, also a very, very famous photographer, has been around since Dirt Bike magazine has been around over 50 years. We'll be having an interview with Scott Hybrink as well. And we're really enjoying the interviews. If you watched the one last week with Arnie Beeman, it was a big hit. So I want to thank Arnie Beeman again, and I look forward to speaking to Terry Good, Scott Hybrink, and I got a couple other surprises for you on the way. October 23rd, the Moto Barn. George Ackerman having an open house down at the Moto Barn in Ruther Glen, Virginia. If you have some time, get a hold of George. Let him know you're coming because there's only so much room inside there. But it is an open house, but I think he wants to make sure he has food and drink for everyone. Thank you, George Ackerman. I am going to be there along with Martina Faltova-Cope, Barry Higgins, Steve Wise, Warren Reed, and I think that's about it. Langston's annual bike show is coming up November 4th. I will be the MC again this year. That is November 4th down at Langston Motorsports in beautiful Paris, California. Finish Line is brought to you by ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. This week's special at Replica Motorcycle Parts is this chain guard for a 1978-79. It's a chain slider, actually. Did they call it a chain guard? I'm not really sure. Anyway, just $40. But I've got so much more to talk about when it comes to Replica Motorcycle Parts because every week Paul Parkinson is sending me something. So, Jordan, do we want to do the Finish Line stuff, or this is okay? Let's do it that way. I get you. Replica Motorcycle Parts will have a beautiful display. They will be at booth 127 at Motorcycle Days at Mid-Ohio. That happens July 21st through the 23rd. Get over and see Paul Parkinson at booth 127. What did Paul send me this week? Jordan, can you go to full screen first for a second? Okay. Here it is. He sent me this beautiful chain roller that fits perfectly in this stock chain guide. Okay, this is the one that actually came off a Honda. Fits perfectly in there. Now, get this. Last week, he sends me this. This is the replica chain guide he is making for the 1973-1974 Honda CR250. Now, he says he 3D prints these. This is aluminum. I don't know how he prints 3D prints aluminum, but he knows how he's doing it, and he's the guy that's doing it. So, here they are, replica chain guide, very, very difficult to get. A part that is usually worn out and ragged whenever you buy the 73-74 Honda CR250. He's making those. He's making this beautiful little piece that sits between the side panels on your CR250 and other stuff too. He's coming out with pegs for the 74, 75 Honda CR125 and 250. And a little bird told me that there's a good possibility that ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com is going to be replicating pickle silencers for your 74, CR125, and 250. The guy doesn't sleep. Paul Parkinson, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you for the shirt. Thank you for all the products you've brought us, including things like this. Air cages for 74 CR125s. The other filter cage for the 75 125. It's absolutely mind-boggling. He's coming out with something new every week, and every week I'm getting something new in the mail. Get a hold of Paul Parkinson or go to the website, ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. The Mako Michelin t-shirts are still available. $24.99. Follow the link in the show description. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts and hoodies are still available, Susie. If you don't have one yet, you need to follow the link in the show description and get yourself one. Just $19.99 for the t-shirts, and just a couple of bucks more, you get yourself a hoodie.
I have one.
I know you have one.
I have a cup too.
What else you got, Jordan? Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities. Get a hold of me. I will get you a sponsorship opportunity package. It is not as expensive as you think, and you'll be reaching people, well, let's say on Facebook, on YouTube, on 2 cable channels in Long Island, New York, on LTV. And when I get down there to Australia, I'll be telling them about your product in Australia. I'll be telling them about it in Canada. You'll be worldwide. Get a hold of me, and I'll get you a sponsorship opportunity proposal package. Thank you, Sunrise Vapor Blasting, Vintco, Full Circle, Preston Petty, Motion Pro, and so many more. I'm Joe Abadi. I need to get something to eat. I worked hard today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thanks, Jordan. We'll see you next time. Rocket, Gino! Gino! Come on, boy! Come on, Gino!